Leapmotor has been moving through Europe with more purpose than most observers expected when the brand first arrived. And the B05 is the clearest signal yet of where the company thinks its future in the region actually lies. Unveiled at the Poznan Motor Show on April 23, 2026, this is the brand's first genuinely sporty electric model for European buyers, a compact 5-door hatchback that leads with performance credentials rather than just price, which is a meaningful shift in how Leapmotor has been presenting itself. The Poznan debut was a deliberate choice. Poland sits at the center of a rapidly growing Central European EV market, and launching there gave the brand direct access to buyers who are actively looking for affordable electric alternatives rather than waiting on the sidelines. It's a pragmatic move, and it fits with how Leapmotor has approached Europe generally, methodically, market by market, using Stellantis' distribution infrastructure to avoid the usual growing pains of establishing a brand from scratch in unfamiliar territory. That Stellantis partnership deserves more attention than it typically gets in coverage of this brand. Leapmotor isn't trying to build a European dealer network and service operation independently, which is what makes the rollout credible. It's plugging into an existing system with decades of established relationships, trained technicians, and parts logistics already in place. For a Chinese automaker entering Europe, that removes a significant variable from the equation and lets the product do the talking, rather than the infrastructure becoming the story. The B05 sits in the C segment, measuring approximately 4.43 meters in length, a footprint that puts it in direct conversation with the Golf, the Megane E-Tech, and other established European electric hatchbacks. What separates it immediately from most of its direct rivals is the rear-wheel drive layout. Most cars in this segment run front-wheel drive because it's cheaper to engineer and package. Rear-wheel drive costs more to develop, but produces a measurably different driving character. Better weight distribution, cleaner steering feel, more natural handling balance. Choosing it for a car at this price point is a statement about priorities, and it's one that driving enthusiasts will notice. The platform is Leapmotor's Leap 3.5 architecture, purpose-built for electric vehicles rather than adapted from something designed around a combustion engine. That distinction matters in ways that aren't always immediately visible. Interior packaging, structural efficiency, the way the battery integrates with the vehicle's structure. But that experienced drivers tend to notice in how the car feels and behaves. The B05 is built from the ground up to be what it is, and that tends to produce better results than starting with compromises. Power output reaches 218 horsepower in standard specification from a rear-mounted motor producing 240 Nm of torque, with 0 to 100 km per hour arriving in around 6.7 seconds. The Ultra variant pushes that further to approximately 241 horsepower, with correspondingly sharper acceleration. Neither figure is supercar territory, but in the context of a compact hatchback priced around €26,900, these are numbers that make the car feel genuinely quick in everyday use. Overtaking on a motorway, pulling away from junctions, the kind of responsiveness that makes driving feel rewarding rather than merely functional. Electric motors deliver torque immediately and without the step changes of a gearbox, which always flatters acceleration figures and makes the real-world experience feel stronger than the numbers suggest on paper. Battery options run from 56.2 kilowatt-hours to 67.1 kilowatt-hours, depending on specification, with WLTP range reaching up to approximately 482 kilometers in the higher capacity configuration. Even the smaller battery version clears 400 kilometers, which covers the vast majority of European driving patterns without requiring the driver to think much about charging strategy. Range anxiety as a genuine daily concern has largely been eliminated at these numbers. The conversation has shifted to charging speed and network access, and the B05 addresses both. DC fast charging is supported, allowing meaningful range recovery in the kind of time that makes long-distance trips viable rather than exhausting. Future development toward higher voltage charging architecture is reportedly planned, which suggests Leapmotor is building the B05 with a longer product life in mind, rather than treating it as a static specification. For buyers who hold on to cars for several years, knowing the technology has room to improve through updates is a relevant consideration. The interior is clean and digitally focused. A large central touchscreen handles infotainment, vehicle settings, and navigation, and the overall dashboard layout reflects the minimalist direction that most modern EVs have taken. Fewer physical buttons, more touch and voice control, ambient lighting doing work that trim used to do. Level 2 Plus driver assistance is standard, covering the lane keeping, adaptive cruise, and automatic emergency braking functions that European buyers increasingly treat as baseline requirements rather than premium features. Pricing at approximately €26,900 is where the B05 makes its most direct challenge to the established order. That figure sits well below the entry points of most comparable European electric hatchbacks and requires those brands to either respond or accept that they're conceding a portion of the market. Leapmotor isn't the first Chinese automaker to target this gap, but the B05 is among the more credible attempts because the product itself is genuinely competitive rather than simply cheap. There's a difference between a car that costs less and a car that represents real value, and the B05 is making a case for the latter. Production is currently handled via import, but plans to localize manufacturing at the Stellantis facility in Zaragoza, Spain, are in development. European production would reduce the tariff exposure that has complicated the economics of Chinese EV imports since the EU introduced additional duties, and it would bring Leapmotor's cost structure closer to that of domestic manufacturers. Getting that right will matter more as volume grows and the margin pressures of a competitive market become more acute. The broader picture here is of a brand that has figured out how to operate in Europe, rather than simply entering it. The Stellantis partnership provides distribution and credibility. The pricing provides the opening. The rear-wheel drive, the performance figures, and the platform give the product something to say beyond affordability. As the B05 rolls out across European markets through the remainder of 2026, it will be one of the more closely watched launches in the segment. Not because Leapmotor is a household name yet, but because the car itself gives buyers a genuine reason to look.